Welcome to Dan's Bar! Today we're making a cocktail called the Gregorian Gap. I was asked to put on a talk about some different calendars throughout time, and one of the things that came up was the fact that between the usage of the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar, there was an 11-day time period that just disappeared. Because the calendars used time differently and measured time differently, that time span was needed to just be removed to be able to have the calendars transition, so there's a period of 11 days that just never happened. In an attempt to explain why that could be the case, I made a cocktail called the Gregorian Gap to represent what could have made that 11-day blackout period a possibility. For that, I wanted to get something that was a little bit sweet, had a lot of flavor, a lot of good nuance to it, but also was very strong. So in this case, we've got a bourbon-based cocktail. So we have got bourbon, primarily 2 ounces of bourbon, with a ½ ounce of simple syrup, a ½ ounce of pineapple juice, and a ¼ ounce of Nocino. Nocino is a liqueur made from green walnuts and a bunch of spices as well as some simple syrup, so it is a sweet liqueur, but it has a lot of flavors that are going on in it, and so that's why only a ¼ ounce in the whole cocktail actually does give it enough flavor to be able to actually give it a really nice note to it. I've got the pineapple in here to give it some sweetness, some more floral and almost tropical notes, so that we have that kind of really carefree attitude that we have with tropical atmosphere. It's really good. I have made this many times. I think this is my 4th pre-batch or separate cocktail. Plenty of R&D went into building this, so it really is a great cocktail. So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna start off with 2 ounces of bourbon. I would recommend using a less sweet bourbon. When I made this with makers, it was too sweet because the sweetness of the bourbon, alongside the sweet liqueur and the simple syrup and the juice in here, it was too much. So a drier bourbon, in this case I'm using one from Mammoth, but there's plenty of good ones out there. Good, solid 2 ounces of a nice dry bourbon to form the base of this cocktail. That's basically 2/3 of the cocktail, just straight bourbon. Hence the gap. After that, we're going to do a ½ ounce of a simple syrup, which is going to give us the sweet note without imparting too much flavor. I am using a demerara sugar-based simple syrup, and so it does have a little bit more of the almost charcoaly, sweet, honey, mapley flavor to it, but not too much. This would also absolutely work really well with the plain refined sugar simple syrup. And then ½ ounce of our pineapple juice. Pineapple juice is really nice. It comes in very small cans, which is perfect for things like this. And we're adding a small enough amount that it's not going to be overpowering in the cocktail. It's just going to add the right amount to it. Combine the pineapple juice with the demerara simple syrup, and you almost have a toasted, grilled pineapple, charred pineapple flavor to it as well. So that combination is quite nice. Final thing we're adding here is Nocino. I really like this. I got this for a cocktail maybe a year back, and I couldn't find a whole lot of uses for it, but now that I've figured out where it works, oh, does it work great. So we're only doing a ¼ ounce of this one because, like a lot of other liqueurs, it is very easy for this to overpower everything else in the cocktail, just because it does have so many spices going on. There's so much flavor involved in that. So just a ¼ ounce of that is going to finish off our cocktail. We are going to finish this with a couple dashes of bitters, so we'll grab a couple of those. This is completely to taste. You do not have to do this. These are, again, like spices. You can either add or not add depending on what your flavor is like. In this case, I'm going to put just a few dashes, and that should be plenty for this one. We'll go ahead and give this puppy a shake and see what we get. All right, we're good and cold now. Let's go ahead and get our glass ready to go. Super simple, basic glass. This is almost like an old-fashioned style of drink, where you've got the bourbon as well as some sweetness and some other bitters flavors to that. So I would almost treat this from a glassing perspective like an old-fashioned. I think it would work perfectly well in the same way. So we'll go ahead and pour this into our nice glass here. The color is somewhat lacking, but I promise you it is delicious. It takes on a lot of the Nocino color palette just because it is such an intense liqueur. So we'll give this guy a taste. It's so balanced. Just the hint of that Nocino, the little bit of herbaceousness that it gives the cocktail really works nicely with the pineapple to be able to give it that tropical vibe, but not overpoweringly so. And if you're not really thinking about it, it just kind of seems like it blends nicely and has a little bit of a sweet kick to it, while still being 2/3 straight liquor. So really nice cocktail. This has been my go-to for the past couple weeks. Highly recommended. So if you're so inclined, fairly standard ingredients with the exception of the Nocino, but this comes in smaller bottles, so that's a little bit easier to do. But really great cocktail. It's been one of my go-tos for the past couple of weeks, so I've really enjoyed this. Give it a try, see what you think, and until we drink again, cheers.